Okay, pleasant good day. Today we'll be looking at some questions on percentages. As usual, we're going to just look at God's word that will guide this lesson. And in Psalm 23:1, it says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." So as a student, you shall lack nothing good in terms of your understanding. And I declare over you that you will not lack in terms of your ability to understand what is being taught today. So let's go straight into our question. Question number 5. A shopkeeper marks an article to allow himself 25% profit on the cost price. If he sells it for $80, how much was the cost price? So let's just talk a bit about some keywords in this question. And the first keyword that we are seeing here in terms of, yes, in terms of this question, profit. And then you have the phrase cost price. And of course, what else we have here? The shopkeeper marks an article to allow himself 25% profit and cost price. Okay, so let's look at the relationship between these three phrases. And the first one is cost price. The second one is profit. Let's put that here. And when you add your profit to your cost price, which is how much the item costs, you will get what is called your selling price. So that is the relationship between those three. Now, that is important. Let me tell you why. Cost price, in terms of this question being asked here, let's see what's happening. They ask us to, how much was the cost price? So we need to figure out that. But they did tell us that the profit is 25%. Right? And in terms of your selling price, if you have cost price being expressed as a percentage, it is always, always, always considered to be 100%. So let me rephrase that. Once you are expressing cost price profit in percentages, cost price is always expressed as 100%. In this scenario, your profit is 25%. So therefore, your selling price in terms of profit will be 125%. So that's the first thing we need to note. The second thing is that you can also express cost price, profit, and selling price in terms of dollars. Now, we are told in this question that he wants to sell it for $80, right? So we know that the $80 there is the selling price. He wants to make a particular profit, which we don't know the amount, and we are asked to find what is the actual cost price, which is right here. We need to figure out what is this amount here. So let's see how that works. When you are looking at working these questions out and you have already established these two important links, then you need to just simply compare one with the other. What do I mean by that? If you notice how the information is given in the question, your $80, which is the selling price in terms of dollars, is equivalent to 125%. So once you have established that information, then what you need to do now is to use what is called unit approach. I like to call it the unit approach. Or sometimes it's called the unitary method. And I'll explain how that works. Now, let's set up this simple box here. and we'll put the 2 bits of information that we want. We already have here that 125% corresponds to $80. And we are asked to find what is the cost price. In other words, we are asked to figure out this cost price here and the equivalent percentage, as I explained just now, that corresponds to your cost price is 100%. So I'm showing you using a table how you can summarize or express the information. So let me just write that there for you. What you have in your first column is your cost price information. 100%, cost price always expressed as 100%. And we are asked to find the actual dollar amount for the cost price, which we do not know. And across here, you have the selling price expressed as a percentage. Since you're making a 25%, then 100 plus the 25% will give you the selling price, which is 125%. And in terms of the question, $80 is how much he sold it for. Now, I'm going to show you the unit method first in solving this problem, and then I'll show you another approach using that table below here. So let's go first with the unit method. And of course, at the end of it, you can decide which method you want to use, okay? Right, let's go with the unit method first. So with the unit method, the objective is, and of course, this could also be referred to as the unitary method. Unit means one. And in this case, you want to figure out what is 1%. Now, based on the information with the selling price, 125% corresponds to $80. So if we want to find what is 1%, we need to divide both sides by 125. So if you need to find 1%, you must divide by 125. And this will cancel out to give us 1%. So 1% will correspond to, once you divide by 125 on the left, you must always do the same thing on the right. So you're dividing this by, to remove the signs here, you're dividing that by 125 as well. So 1% will be 80 over 125, right? And that, remember, we have $80 here, and that is how much it will be in terms of dollars. Now, we need to find the cost price, which corresponds to 100%. So if we know what is 1%, to find 100%, all we need to do is to multiply the amount, which is equivalent to 1%, 100 times. And of course, now we do the math, right? So let's work out the math. 80 over 125 multiplied by 100. We can do that on the calculator. Let's work that. 80 divided by 125. And the answer we get, we multiply that by 100. And that'll be 64. So based on this first approach or method, which is called the unit or unitary method, the equivalent answer here, right here, will be $64. I put percent, $64, right? Now, I want you to appreciate something in this table as well. Notice 100% is less than 125%. So the value that corresponds to the 100% in dollars must be less than $80. So if you had worked this question and you got an answer which was greater than 80 corresponding to 100%, then you'll need to recheck that answer. Okay, so that's the first method, right? Using the unit method, remember, you establish what 125% correspond to, which was $80. You find what is 1% by dividing the 80 by 125, and you want the cost price, which is 100%. So once you know what is the value for 1%, to get 100%, you multiply it by 100 and you get 64. That's method one. Now we can use this table here and figure out what is this missing value. So I'm now going to show you method number two. Let's call this missing value X. And I'm going to show you based on the table. So we're going into method two now. And let's say we're going to use this method, which we'll call algebra method, right? So this method two is called the algebra method. And let me show you how it works. Exactly how you set up your table is how you're going to write an equation. So we already agree we're going to call this missing value X. So we're going to write this equation. Watch the lines of the table now. It's 100 divided by X. That's what we're going to put here. Is equal to, and we're going to put the same thing, 125 over 80. Right, now there's a technique in solving this type of equation called cross multiplication. So once you have any fraction, you can cross multiply to remove the fractions. Right, so let's do that. X multiplied by 125 is 125 times X. 80 multiplied by 100, we can leave it like that. Right? Now, if we're solving for X, we need to divide both sides by 125. And this will cancel right here. So you notice how you have actually solved for X, which is the value you want, the cost price in terms of dollars. And again, we're going to use the calculator, and we should get the same answer, which is 64. So we're going to multiply 80 by 100. And the answer we get, we're going to divide it by 125. And that will give us $64, right? So you have two methods you can use. So X in this case will be $64. You can use the unit method, or you can use the algebra method, where you substitute the missing value as X and you write it in the form of an equation as shown here, exactly how it's written in the table. 100 over X equals 125 over 80. And then you cross multiply and you solve for X as shown. So throughout the solving of the rest of the question, I'm going to focus mainly on the unit method, which I showed you earlier. And we're going to see how this method really works in all the different scenarios presented by the rest of the question. So let's go to the next one. Question number 6, I believe. All right, so let's go to question number 6. Right. Okay, so let's read 6 by the time. If 8% of a sum of money is $2.40, right? What do you want us to find? Find 9.5% of the money. So let's read that question again. So it's saying if 8%. So 8% corresponds to $2.40. And we need to figure out what 9.5% corresponds to. Right now, before you could actually calculate what is 9.5%, It will be nice if we could find what 1% corresponds to, and then of course we multiply by 9.5. So let's do it the same way we just did it for the first question. So if 8% corresponds to 240, then to get 1%, we must divide by 8 because that will cancel to give us 1%. So you notice whatever value you have on this side, you divide by the same number. So 1% will correspond to 240 over 8. And of course, if we calculate that on the calculator, this works out to be 30 cents. So if we know what is 1%, to get 9.5%, we take the value for 1%, which is the 30 cents, and we must multiply that by 9.5. So 9.5% will correspond to, let's work it, calculator. That will be right here. Let's get a calculator on. So you multiply 0.3 by 9.5 is 9.5. So that'll be $2.85. Right? $2.85. Now, I am also going to show you, this was the unitary method where you find what is 1% and then you figure out the rest of it. Now, the important part of the question is to line up all the information correctly. So let's see how we line up that. 8% corresponded to 240. That's what it said in question 6. If 8% of a sum of money is 240, what is 9.5% of the sum? So we need to figure out how much of this money corresponds to 9.5%. So exactly how it is laid out there, if you're going to look at the algebra method using a table, that is exactly how you write it. So you have 8% here, right? You draw up your table, and it corresponds to 240. And you want to figure out what 9% will correspond to, right? Which we don't know. So you can see how you can form the equation from this. Now, remember, you must put percent on the percent, like the 8 and the 9, and you must put dollars on the dollars. So we need to figure out how much does 9.5% correspond to. If you go in with this approach, then you have to simply write your equation as shown. And the equation as shown will be something like this. You put the 8 over the 9 is equal to 240. All right, so let me fix it. It's 9.5. Sorry about that, 9.5%. Right. Over, and we need to figure out what is this unknown, which you call an x. And you cross multiply. Always work out the multiplication involving the x first. So, and we write that down on the left-hand side. 8 by x is 8x. Now, I know we have decimals and fraction here, and that's okay because we do have a calculator we can use. So 9.5 is really 9.5. We can multiply that by 2.4. Right, so you see the multiplication happening there, 9.5 by 2.4. And of course, if we're solving for x, we must divide both sides by 8. So you have your missing value x. And of course, you can work out the rest on the calculator. Let's do that. So we're going to take 9.5, multiply that by 2.4. And you're given what? 22.8. And don't forget, you have to now divide this by your 8. And once we do it correctly, we should get the same answer, which is the $2.85. So again, you have two methods there. You can choose one of the two to work it out. Right, so the important thing is lining up your information correctly, either using a table right? Or if you're going with the unit method, percentage, the information given must correspond accurately. So that was number 6. Let's see number 7. So here we're going to look at, let's say a duty on an article is 20%, right? The duty on an article is 20% of its value. If the duty is 60 cents, so you see what's happening. The duty as a percentage, 20%, corresponds, and they give us the value of it. The duty of an article is 20%, that's the duty. And in terms of the value, 20% is equivalent to 60 cents, right? So I'm putting the dollar sign here. All right, let's keep it as they have it here, 60 cents. Right, 60 cents. Now let's see what they're asking us. If the duty is 60 cents, find the value of the article, right? So the duty of the article is 20% of its value. So we need to find what is the value of the article. So we need to find what is 100%. And of course, we can call that X. Right? So the duty of an article is 20% of the value. Right? And the duty is 60 cents, so 20% of the value is 60 cents. We need to find what is the actual whole, which is the value of the entire article. And that is always represented by 100%. So I'm going to put a note here. Think in terms of the whole, which is the entire amount, which is the value of the article, and that's 100%. Again, you can use the unitary method. Let's see what that will work out to be. So you have 20% corresponding to 60 cents. If we could figure out what is 1%, 1% will be, of course, you divide both sides by the 20. So let's do that. 20 over 20 will give us that 1%. And what you do on one side, you must do on the other side. So this is equivalent to 3 cents. So 1% is equivalent to 3 cents. And we need to figure out what's 100%. You multiply this 3 by the 100, and you get your $300. That's the value of the article. Now, if we go in with the table format, that's method 2, you can simply put this information in the form of a table, just like this. Are you seeing that? And of course, you use your equation. You put the 20 over the 100 is equal to 60 over X. And then you cross multiply. So we go 20 by X, which is 20X, is 100 multiplied by 60. And if we solve it for X, it'll be 100 by 60 divided by 20. Right? So at this stage, remember, you will divide both sides by 20. This will cancel to give us the X. And of course, we can work out this on the calculator, or watch this. Zeros could cancel. 6 could go into 2. 6 divided by 2, 3. 100 by 3, giving us the same answer. $300 is the value of the article. So choose your method, whichever one you prefer. So that was question number 7. So just for completeness sake, we're going to run through question number 8. I think we have until 10. So we're going at a pretty pace. Right? So this video may be a little longer than usual, but practice is always important in math, right? So let's take all this. So you got, I think you're starting to see the pattern of how to solve these problems in the questions, right? So when you start to probably reach number 7 like we are doing now, right? Although this may not be, I don't know if this was one of them, but that was 7, you're on 8 now, all right? You'll be able to do it on your own. So let's try it now. When a sum of money is decreased by 10%, it becomes $18. What was the original sum? Now, remember we said the original sum of the whole is always 100%, right? So let's just put that down here. 100% is always the whole. And they want us to know what was this original 100%, which we don't know. But they tell us if the sum, which is the whole, is decreased by 10, so if you subtract 10 from this, it becomes 90%, then that would correspond to, what do they have there? 90%, it becomes $18. So we have to read this carefully. They say if it is decreased by 10, it becomes $18. So when you subtract 10 from here, you get 90%, it becomes $18. So let's use the unitary method first. So you need to figure out what is 1%. When you get 1%, you have to divide this 18 by 90 to get 1%. To get 100%, you now take the value, which is for the 1%, and you multiply by 100. So this will be 18 over 90 by 100. And we can do some arithmetic here, which is 0 could cancel here with this one. And then 18 could be divided by 9 twice, 2 by 10. So the whole or the original sum, which is 100%, will be $20. Now let's go with the table. What is the information we have for the table? 100%, we don't know, that's our X. 90% corresponded to 18. All right, so your table should look something like this. If you put it in the format, so we're going into method 2 now using our table. Right, 90% corresponds to $18. 100% correspond to X. We set up the equation right here. 90 over 100 is equal to 18 over X. Cross multiply. Let's go with the 90 by X first, which is 90X. 100 by 18. Right, and then of course you divide now by your 90. You want to solve for this X, so you must divide both sides by 90, so this one will cancel. To maintain the equality of the problem, the balance there with that equal sign, you must also divide the right-hand side by 90. And we can simplify here. 18 divided by 9 is 2, 2 by 10 is 20. So X will be 20, which is what we got as the answer. So the original whole or the sum is $20. Okay, that's question number 8. Let's go into question number 9. Number 9. So you see how the unit method works very, very good here, as well as the algebra method. You can choose either one. So we're going to target number 9 and write it. This one is a little different. Yeah. The man sells a car for $420, losing 15%, right? So let's write the information for number 9 in the form of a table. Sorry, yeah, let's go large. Let's take this off. So let's put the information in the form of the table. And sells a car for $442.50, losing 15%. Remember we said the original price of the car is always 100%, right? So we don't know what this 100% is. We don't know, right? That's what how much did the car cost? And we need to find out that figure. But if he sells it for $42.50, he loses 15%. So it means that 15% from this 100 is 85%. So 85% of the value of the car is equivalent to the $42.50. Now, don't make the mistake and say 15% is equivalent to the $42.50. No, we have to read the question carefully. He sells it for $42.50 and he loses 15%. So it means that the value there will be equivalent to 85%. And of course, once we have this, we can go either way. We can go with the 1% here, where we divide this $42.50 by the 85, that's 1%. And if we need to get the 100%, which is the original sum of the car. We'll take this 1% value and we multiply it by 100. And of course, the calculator is going to help us here. So let's do that. Let's go with the 4250 first, divided by 85. And we're going to get at 50. And then, of course, we multiply this by 100. So it looks as though the value of the car is 5,000. Right? So this will be equivalent to the 5,000. And of course, we're now going to use the other method where you put it in the form of a table. So the 85 corresponds to the 4250. And we need to figure out what the 100% represents, right? Which we call X. Right? So I see you are already familiar with how to set up the equation. So we're going to write 85 over 100 is equivalent to 4250 divided by X. And of course, we're going to cross multiply. And you could go ahead and work it through. Right? And then you could always continue watching the video after you would have solved it, right? So I will just continue, or you will put it on pause. And of course, you can continue watching the solution after you're finished here. Okay, so let's work this. So 85 by X will give me 85X. And this will be equivalent to 4250 by 100. And to solve for X, I divide both sides by 85. And when I do the same maths here on the calculator, as you would have done, you will get the answer. X is equal to 5,000. Right, so let's write that here. 5,000. Which is what we would have gotten in the original method using the unit method here. Okay, so that is question number 9. And we go, and we're coming in for a smooth landing here with question number 10 now. Now this one is just about percentages, right? So this isn't asking for the approach used in the previous questions. Let's read it and make some sense of it, right? So what have we told? What have we told there? We clear the board first. Right, so we're talking depreciation. Depreciation is something normal for any kind of equipment in a business. So anything that we own over time, the value depreciates. It is reduced because of wear and tear. If you have a phone, if you have a television, a car, right? And that is what the business term uses, depreciation. So it is not uncommon for businesses to put aside money based on what this depreciation is, and over time they will be able to replace that item when it is no longer possible to use it. So let's see what the question says. Equipment belonging to a firm is valued at 60,000. Right, so this is the original price, 60,000. And each year, 10% of the value of the equipment is written off for depreciation. So let's see how much is written off for depreciation after year 1. Depreciation after year 1. Let's look at the values. 10% of this. So it's 10% multiplied by 60,000. Right, and you will agree that this is what this means, 10% of the value. And you could put in your dollar sign there if you wish. And cancel this out. 10% of 60,000 is $6,000. So if the nominal value is reduced by $6,000, right? They will put aside $6,000 each year, right? So after the first year, let's see what is the value of the item after year one, right? Value of the equipment after year one. How do you think we figure out that? Work it out. You will have to take the original cost and you minus how much this actual depreciation is, which is the 6,000. So if 6,000 of the item or the value of the item is depreciation, then it would have reduced to 54,000 after year one. Now, they say depreciation each year is 10% of the value. So this is the value after year one. So after year two, the depreciation will be 10%. Will be 10%, not of the 60,000, 10% is 10 over 100, but of this 54,000. Right, and of course you take out that 2 zeros there, you divide, that'll be 5,400. Right, so then of course we can conclude based on what they ask us, find the value of the equipment at the end of year two. So the value of the equipment after year two, or at the end of year two, you take in the, let's scroll down a bit. Right, so the value after year two will be the value at the end of year one, which is the 54,000 minus 5,400. Right, and we can use the calculator to work out that too. Okay, 48,600. So we'll settle with that answer, 48,600. So I'm happy to have done these questions, go them over, and I hope you would have understood the different methods used working with percentages. And of course, we ended with the depreciation question there, which was a bit of new information, maybe. So let's remember the word of God, which says in Psalm 23:1, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So thank you so much for taking the time to view, and all the best. Take care now. Bye.